Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's midweek edition, HR Mentorship Learning Series. And we'll be looking at the topic, cross-functional teamwork and collaborative tools. Our facilitator for tonight is Victor Agu, and I would like to read his profile, even though this is not his first time of facilitating for us. Victor Agu is a finely tuned management and HR professional whose primary focus is on driving organizational success through HR excellence. His experience cuts across industries including consulting, agriculture, hospitality, finance, fashion, manufacturing, and real estate. He's a chartered human HR practitioner and he is certified with project management. Okay, he has handled strategic HR functionalities across the HR value chain. Over the course of his career, he has led diverse cross-functional teams in the development and implementation of management strategies, as well as set up HR departments in firms within and outside Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, he's currently the head of human resources at Bankole Thomas Group, a Pan-African company that comprises Bezo Homes and Investments, A913 Integrated Service Limited, and Bankole Thomas Company, with established presence in Nigeria, Kenya, Sierra Leone, and South Sudan. Victor has embraced technology by learning how to blend HR with data science through the use of advanced tools in preparing, visualizing, and transforming data to foster making strategic management decisions. He's a graduate of economics from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and also a postgraduate award owner from, he also has a postgraduate study. Okay, he's currently undergoing his postgraduate studies in industrial relations and personal management at the University of Lagos. All right. Beyond HR, Victor Agu is a professional speaker, trainer, and writer. Aside his published book, he's an author of 4 books, and he loves music, plays the piano at a nearly advanced level. Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's welcome tonight Victor Agu as he speaks to us on collaboration, teamwork, and of course, collaborative tools. You have the floor, my brother. Thank you for joining us. You will need to unmute.
Hey, thank you very much, Dr. Adeosun. Thank you very much, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here. And whenever we get to share knowledge together, it's one of the best things that can ever happen to us. Thank you for giving us proper mentorship. And of course, we are getting better by the day. And for those of us who have made out time to come to add to our body of knowledge, it's such a huge one for us. And I just want to ensure and assure each and every one of us that we will be having a take home tonight. So I would not want to lose anybody via this ride, and I'm sure that we'll be getting value. So good evening once again. How was our day? You might want to use the chat box. I'm sure some persons are still on transit, but then I'm sure that some persons are home too. So as rightly talked about, we want to quickly dwell on cross-functional teamwork and collaboration tools. Cross-functional teamwork and collaboration tools. It's safe to say that whenever we are within organizations, we have cat and dog fights. Sometimes it's like cat and rats. I'm sure you can put yourself as either the dog or the cat in this picture. But it's glaring that sometimes you like your teammates, you like the people you are working with. Sometimes you don't like them, but you must work together, right? You must work together. And it makes a lot of sense because you cannot do everything, right? You can't be the salesperson, yet be HR, yet be the management guru, and all of that. And we are also at a time when there's so much clamor for flexi work, work from home, You don't have to be coming every day. Rain has started falling up and down. You don't want to just see the reason to be going to work Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday in some companies. So how do we bridge these things, right? I like this quote from William Shakespeare, although it's abused from time to time when they say jack of all trades, master of none. You know, that's like 50% or 60% of the quote. The other part of that quote says, oftentimes better than master of one. So jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than master of one. So it's very important that as professionals, especially for those of us in HR, we have a robust view. We have a robust view. We have an understanding of how to work together as a team, how to achieve short-term goals, how to achieve long-term goals. So it's critical that we have that foundation. So just to make this easy, because we will be having a little bit of a practical session towards the end of this presentation. So you might want to put in your email, just type in your emails, your emails in the comment section. And do me a favor, try to, if you have Slack on your phone, that's fine enough. If you don't have, try to download Slack, maybe on your Play Store or wherever. You don't have to have any paid version of it. You can just do a free sign up. It's a simple process, as though you want to sign up to Facebook or sign up to any of these social media platforms. So you want to check for Slack, you want to check for Trello, right? Try to check for Trello. So put your emails there. We'll try and do some practical sessions with some emails before the end of the class. Thank you very much. I see those emails coming in. So it's important to understand that cross-functional teamwork is something we cannot do without, right? If I should ask us, you might want to also be generous enough. I would like somebody on the chat box to tell us about the most stressful part of today or of this week, you know, working within a team or working with some other persons outside your team. How stressful has it been? You might want to share us a story just within the chat box. We'll still come back to that. About somebody frustrated you, but you had to work with the person. So we'll still come back to that, but just that as a foundation, right? So cross-functional teamwork is an approach that brings individuals with diverse expertise, right, together to achieve a common goal. Like I said, you might be the numbers guy. You like to work with a lot of numbers, but some other person does not like to work with numbers. They just like to, they are happy personalities. You know, they are sanguines. They just want to have fun. There are some persons who are just, you know, melancholic in nature. Different persons with different auras and different steeds in that sense. But you just have to have that balance that ties everything together, right? So we want to collect the strength of Victor, the strength of Mary, the strength of Alice, the strength of this person, the strength of that person, and we just want to tie things together. So this is the paradox where we want to have a system where we are feeding on the expertise, the strengths of everyone within our team. So put that at the back of your mind as you go through, right? And of course, what are the benefits? I'm still trying to lay a foundation. Of course, we know that this would enhance productivity, right? If people can work at home, right? If people can work at home and they can be as productive, if people can flex upon their expertise, right? We are sure of productivity, we are sure of innovation, we are sure of problem solving. It's a big flex when you're a problem solver within your organization. And I try to preach that to myself. I try to preach that to other professionals to say, find the point of relevance for yourself, right? For your teammates. Why would you be missed if you go on leave, right? If they want to do a sort of job rotation and you are not within the team, what's that extra spark? Why will you be missed? So it's very important that we want to ensure that everybody within the team has a spark for innovation, has a spark for problem solving. And don't forget that as I'm speaking to you as an HR professional. I'm speaking to you as a business owner, member of management, an employee. So just get the part of this discourse that has to do with you, right? You want to also talk about efficiency, right? Even though in recent times, I think I'll favor effectiveness over efficiency, right? Efficiency is great. Effective processes, I think, would be better, right? Decision making, employee engagement. So these are great benefits you get when you are not doing a one-man show, right? You are not the only star within your organization, or you are not bringing a team where there is a Messi or a Serena Williams or a Shakespeare or one solid person that when the person leaves the team, everything crashes. So it's a robust idea for us to have people bringing in their best, right? Still laying a foundation. And I would like to break these things down into 4 subtopics, right? We can have more, of course, as much as infinity, but for the purpose of this discourse, I would like to have us talk about communication. We'll talk about project management, because the 21st century HR, or let me say the management person in 2024, is also a project manager, right? Also a project manager, and you have to understand how project management works. We want to understand file sharing, right? What can help us stay productive? How can we harness Slack, Teams, Trello, Asana, Google Drive, Dropbox, Office 365, SharePoint, OneDrive, Zoom, Google Meet for virtual meetings? I know that for most companies, we all have our ERPs that we use, right? Some of us, we use Odoo, we use some other ERPs, but for the purpose of this discourse, again, we want to see how we can integrate some of these general tools and how these things can increase our productivity massively. Okay, that being said, I'd like to tell a story, and this is a real life story because it happened to me, right? I think this was in 2022. I was working in a cosmetics related company. I was doing HRBP for them, and we were working with some people in England. So the whole idea is they do the manufacturing in England. We speak to suppliers of some boxes in England and China. They do everything that has to do with manufacturing, right? We then speak to logistics companies. If we want to use DHL, we want to use GIG or whatever. And so we have people sending things from China, sending things from England, different parts of the business. So when it gets to Lagos, Victoria Island, Lagos, then we do packaging. All we do is packaging. We bring all the different parts, the bottles, the chemicals, the boxes. We bring everything together, and then we have our final product. So we're more of the last part of the supply chain, or rather before we begin to supply to customers. So I was monitoring these processes up until one time when we had to order some boxes from UK, right? Packaging boxes, to be precise. And it cost us $3,000 in 2022, $3,000. And we did all our dimensions, we did all our specifications. I was in charge of this part of the business, and I sent everything, right? I sent everything to the supplier, or let me just say our representative there. Fast forward about 2 weeks, right? About 2 weeks after, they finished all that they were going to do, and then they were about to send these things to Nigeria. Then it turned out that everything they have manufactured, right, boxes-wise, packaging-wise, everything was a flop. So what I'm talking about is the fact that we just spent $3,000 to produce what we cannot use. So if you want to sympathize with me, maybe in the chat session, you can. I don't know if you've had a similar experience, right? It might not be as much as $3,000, but you might have had an experience where you almost made your company lose money, or you thought you communicated well, or you didn't know. And then when you get into some meetings, it will be that I told you, I told my manager told BC told Kunle. Kunle thought he was supervising this thing. That thing happened to this thing. To cut the long story short, they'll start deducting salaries here and there. You know, it was something that almost crippled me. But what was my saving grace, right? What was my saving grace? I remember that we had a file sharing mechanism. We were doing that stuff using a project management software, right? And then I could document the specifications I sent. I could document all my conversations, right? Everything was very clear. So when I went to tell management that no, if I said this thing is 27 millimeters by 45 millimeters, right? That was what the instruction was. It was clearly communicated. What's the proof? Then we open our softwares, we open everything, and then it was very clear that I did say that. So it was at the final point of the information, right? It was at the final point of production. That was when we just discovered that those guys were actually the ones that had fault. You might want to ask, how much was my salary in 2022? That I'll start paying 3,000 pounds. But then it was so funny, but I got an exoneration, right? I can speak about it because I had something to prove, because management were almost after my life at that period. How could you? Are you serious? What were you looking at? What were you thinking about? But then we were able to channel where this problem was coming from. So communication is something you cannot take out of any business, right? You can't take out the fact that you should have proof. Emails are great, right? It's good for you to send emails, but how many times do you want to always send emails to somebody? You have to then send an email, then you have to follow email trails. How can you use emails to work through projects, right? If you're in HR and you are handling, let's say you're in consulting, you're handling something for oil and gas, but at the same time, you're handling another thing for real estate. How can you monitor all of these things by, using just emails? That's if you are not using any ERP, so to say. So it's important for us to lay these foundations. And like I said, and thankfully, I'm very particular about the practical part of this class, because we'll try to do 1 or 2 practicals, try to send a couple of emails and do a little bit of project management, and that would be a good take home for us. So don't forget that we want to explore communication, we want to explore project management, we want to explore file sharing, and we also want to explore meeting tools in that sense, right? We'll try to do a couple of things on Slack, right, to show us how we can communicate, how we can, share files, how we can create channels, and do a whole lot of things. If you've been using Slack before, that's awesome. If you've not, the thing about this software is that, or for any software, right? In 2024, I don't think any professional should be averse to technology. The beautiful thing with this is that you can always use free versions. You can use demo versions, right? I was telling a group of persons that if you are in HR and you are not privileged to use Seamless HR or Bamboo HR, or you've not been privileged enough to use modern softwares, right? You have demo versions. In fact, I think if you try to use the demo version of either Bamboo or Seamless HR, right, you can literally speak to their customer service, right? And then these guys will fix demo sessions with you, right? And they will teach you, they'll give you a perfect overview, right? Such that by the time you go online, or by the time you try to interact with people, it would be as if you've been using it for a couple of months. So I try to make everybody run away from the excuse of, oh, I didn't have the access to use this. I didn't have money to pay for the free, for the paid version of this. You can have the free versions of these tools any day at any time, right? I'm sure some of us, when we go to our app store, we'll go to our Play Store and want to buy some of these things, we'll do free trial for 2 weeks or for 3 weeks, and then we know how to cancel this subscription. So even for knowledge sharing, right? These apps, you can, as we go on in this lesson, we'll see how we can navigate around free and paid versions for these things, right? Like I said, we'll still be dealing with project management. We'll try to play around file sharing. What are the tools we can use? How can we optimize our drives? Whether or not we are working in an organization or we are consulting, right? Sometimes you can even be working, you can be working on a project with a couple of friends, with a couple of colleagues, and then you have the need to not be jumping files up and down, because very soon you start looking for one file, or you start looking for one folder here and there. Like I said, you may need to have proofs that you actually did something at a particular point in time. And if you cannot show proof, you might be in trouble, right? We are not averse to virtual meeting tools, Google Meet, Zoom, even though sometimes when we are at virtual meetings, when they call our names sometimes, that's when we'll be running from our bedrooms. I'm sure some people can identify with this, right? You are just lying down somewhere because your video is not on. And then when you hear your name, you just come and you say, okay, all right. I think what Kunle said is the right thing. And then you zoom off again. But it's just important for us to see how these things work vis-a-vis, right? So what are the best practices that we can put in place? I'm always an advocate for setting clear goals. You know, whether we're talking about performance management or we're talking about anything entirely, even for your life, even for my life, for whatever process, let goals be clear. I'm also not a typical advocate for setting goals that are very vague. I believe that we should always have short-term goals and long-term goals, right? If there are things you want to achieve for your team, for your department, for instance, you want to say you will grow revenue by 25% by the end of the year, right? What's going to happen in January? What's going to happen in February? How can you cascade these things down? So these things have to be clear, right, to every member of your team. If you are within a team where goals are not clear, things are just happening haphazardly, there is definitely a problem, right? You want to also ensure that communication is open, right? Communication is open. When I mean communication is open, I mean, of course, possibly within work hours, because there's been a debate around once it's 6 p.m. or once it's 5 p.m., don't dial my number again, or don't send me any message again. And I'm sure that some of us are within organizations where at times by 9 p.m. you just see your phone buzzing. I think people who are in finance, they are in this trap most of the times when you just have to make one transaction move, or you just have to make something happen immediately. And then your phone buzzes around 9 p.m. Sometimes it comes in very, very early. But aside extreme cases like that, and I've had some people say, don't call me after 10, don't call me after 9 p.m. unless we're in love. You know, there are many theories around this, but it's important within teams, within organizations, to have communication channels very open. And of course, diversity and inclusivity. So, you know, I spoke about having different types of personalities when I did the dog and cat analogy. In most organizations, you can't do without trying to blend how the baby boomers work, how those who are Generation X, Generation Y, of course, or you want to say millennials, and then the Gen Zs that we have, Gen Zs that, you know, the work mode, especially those who are in IT, the way Gen Zs reason is, of course, different from millennials. So you want to check for who is a sanguine, who is naturally phlegmatic. You know, a phlegmatic person is somebody who, if you like, be shedding tears from now to tomorrow. They are not moved by tears. Most times, those people, you wonder if they have emotions, right? And you have those who are choleric. Of course, if you go to 16personalities.com, right, you might want to just do a personality test for yourself or for your staff, just to understand how people reason. But as an HR person, you want to embrace diversity because that's the strength of working together, right? Everybody cannot act like you. everybody cannot speak like you, right? Of course, trust and respect, and the need to improve. If any process is not leading to improvements, if we cannot measure these things, then there's no point at all. So how do we track these things, right? How do we track these things? You are actively using collaboration tools, right? You are actively doing teamwork, right? When you do have a system where you only have star players, then it means that there's a problem with that flow, right? There's a problem with your processes and your people management. Succession management should also be questioned too, because for whatever reason, the best player within your team can decide to leave the country without telling you, can decide to quit the job, right? Can decide to do anything. But what's the database management, right? How well have you been able to do change management? What is your team dynamics like? So you want to check for metrics, right? How do you track effectiveness, right? The number of users in your organization. Sometimes when somebody calls you, right, they call you as their manager to tell you things that they should communicate to you via a communication platform. Tell them you are not available. Tell them to use the appropriate channel. Calls are good. I just talked about the importance of emails, right? They are also good, but we need to enforce active using of these channels, be it an ERP, be it a communication, a file sharing device. Calls will not suffice. Voice notes will not suffice. WhatsApp text will not suffice. The frequency of use, Monday to Friday, everything laid down according to your SOPs, right? So the number of active users, if you have people who are passively using softwares in your organization, call them out, right? So if we cannot measure metrics by usage, we are not doing very well. We are not doing very well. You also want to check for engagement. What's participation like? When we discuss around projects, how do people participate? Do they act like they are not even interested? What's the feedback? You want to check for productivity. How has this helped us complete our tasks faster? We are going to use Trello shortly. We're going to use Trello. When we use Trello, we'll see how you can see that a job has been initiated, a job is on hold, a job is pending, a task has been completed. So you want to see how fast has this helped us to complete our task? What's the time taken to complete task? And what's employee feedback like? Surveys, polls, you want to do focus groups, you want to have interviews to ask them if they've enjoyed using whatever platform, whatever software, whatever tool you are using. The likelihood that most of them are going to say it's stressful, is this, is that, the likelihood is high. But in the long run, these are things to check for management, because if they're going to be investing in any of these tools for you to use within organizations, it has to be justifiable. So this should be a take home as somebody in management or somebody in HR, that you have to have a way to measure these things, right? You have to have a way to measure these things. And I've talked about the fact that feedback is important. Also, one thing that I must mention is documentation of performance, documentation of achievements when you use new things. I'm not even going to limit this to operational processes, even for our lives. And I tell these things to professionals. I tell these things to myself too. When you work and you boast of your 5 years experience, you boast of your 7 years, 10 years experience, it is important for you to document how your experiences have impacted you, what your contributions have been, how you've been very, very instrumental within your team. Have these things in documents, have them within your journals, so that when people ask you to speak about the problems you've solved, how well you functioned within a team, what your input has been, you have proof. It's very important to know that we are in a generation where you have to substantiate your facts with proof, with numbers, with events, with things that just back up the fact that you know what you are doing. Because every day you are faced with challenges, right? You are faced with numerous tasks. I'm very sure that Some of us, when we resumed on Monday, there was a challenge waiting for us at the office on Monday morning. I know there are some weeks when I get to work on Monday and I'm like, God, where do I start? Because you are supposed to do this, you are supposed to do that. And while you think you are solving one problem on Tuesday morning, or even in the afternoon on Monday, there's already another problem waiting for you. So it's important for you to know when you have actually solved a problem. So documentation is very important for the individual, it's very important for the team. And of course, training and development, right? Training and development. Who are the people in charge? HR is very important to know that L&D, training and support, training is something that you cannot run away from. So if you're an HR person, you never get tired of training, right? HR, IT, these are the big players when it has to do with teamwork, when it has to do with adoption of software, right? While HR is trying to do the training and support, gathering feedback, doing surveys, doing polls, IT is trying to ensure that we have maintenance processes in place. We have the actual implementation of tools. IT is trying to see that there's no hardware problem, there's no software problem. We're trying to see that there's data security, there's a perfect integration, right? And when you're talking about integration, sometimes change does not just happen like all of a sudden. Change can happen within bits. It can be phased. Today, you look at a particular part of a department and then you initiate a change before you move to somewhere else. So this is the role of IT. But most importantly, we have to look at the collaboration between both. Most times, most organizations, most processes break down because we have departments that are doing solo runs. And for me as HR, and fortunately, I've handled, like I said, I've done a business partner role before where I had to understand what was happening at finance and what was happening at sales. There's been a time when sales will go bad and then they'll call your name. And then you are wondering, especially for those of us who are in systems where we don't have a lot of structure. So when something happens at sales, they mention somebody's name at operations. You say, what were you looking at? Or something happens at operations, and then you think you're at finance or you think you're at HR, and then they suddenly mention your name. And like, what were you looking at? What happened? You begin to think, what exactly is my job in this place? Am I the business development manager, or am I in sales department, or am I? But then, especially for those people who are in entry to mid-level, a little from here, a little from there, it helps you build your professional portfolio or competence in that sense. So joint strategy is something that works every time. HR, what are we looking at? IT, what are we looking at? Especially when you are trying to bring in technology. The strategy should not be for one department. So there's the need to have coordination meetings, regular ones, to understand what are our needs. Okay, if we are trying to clamor for hybrid work system, we're trying to clamor for people to work from home, we're trying to say that when people have maternity leaves, for instance, and there's the need for them to stay longer and they want to work from home and just stay longer to attend to some other things, what keeps them effective? Or you want to just see that everything is really not about coming to work from Monday to Friday. So you have to understand what your needs are so that we know what works for us and what does not work for us. Very important that we understand these rules. Like I mentioned, there's really no excuse. I'm trying to get out of the old theoretical part so that we can do a bit of practical and get to understand how interesting this would be. Don't forget that I said try to sign into Trello, try to sign into Slack, right? So that we can do some interaction just in case you missed that. It's important to know that Google Workspace, you have a limited version, but you can access a lot of free things. Even on Slack, you can access a free version of Slack, at least to an extent, right? And for some time. Same thing with Office 365. There are a lot of things that you can access for free. Microsoft Teams, your OneDrive, a whole lot of things that you can get to see for free. But when you want to get more access, or you want to get some more functionalities, you want to check for the full Google Workspace, the full 360, 365 suite. You want to check for more functionalities on, like I said, Asana, Trello, and some of these softwares. You are able to do some other things. For instance, on Slack, if you are using the free version, you are able to speak to one person at a time. You are not able to do video conferencing. But when you pay, you are able to do video conferencing, right? There are some of them that you get to do maybe $9, $10, $15 per user per month. There are some of them that you do per year, but then you don't have to say, because of the cost implication, right? I don't have access to this as an individual. I mean, when you've gone through the usage of these things, you are able to tell us how beneficial these things are. You are able to pitch better to management, right? And if you are part of management, these things are priceless tools. You might want to try the free versions just to be able to have an insight into what you'll be getting from the paid version. And it's the same for subscription-based models, like I explained, or you want to get some licensing for your enterprise, it's the same. You can also, I've said this before, you can speak with their customer representatives. You can speak with them to let them walk you through on a demo so that you have a good picture of what you are trying to sign in for. Even after a demo, ensure to always try out the free version of these things before you get to the paid, right? You might want to say there are challenges to these things. Your people would always have resistance to change. It's normal. When you want to adopt something new every time, you have that person who just wants to stay on what they are very used to. You know, I spoke of the fact that if the person is not maybe a millennial or a Gen Z person, it might be quite stressful, right? And if HR is not training as much as possible, or they are not receptive to training, we could have problems too. You want to also have technology issues when you worry about integration, network, data privacy, the cost, budget constraints. The last time I was here, I mentioned that when we are pitching things to management, let's try as much as possible to be that employee or be that advisor that helps management to do the least cost option most of the time. So I'm not going to say all of the time, because there are certain times you have to pay big time for things that are very, very necessary. But I'm saying for things you just want to try out, for things that are quite basic, sometimes you want to get the least cost, the most effectively useful process with the least cost as much as possible. Most times you are going to be thanked for it, or you just be seen as one superhero just because you made something happen and they didn't have to break the bank, right? So it's our duty as HR persons or as management persons to do a lot of research so that everything that comes from your mouth to management all the time is not how we should spend 500,000 naira per week or 20 million naira in 3 months just because we want to have access to a certain level of collaboration or technology in that sense, right? And we have talked about these things. We have talked about the fact that HR and management can help the team, can help the organization ensure that these things are mitigated as much as possible. And with this, I would like to get us into a demo session, which would span for most of the time we'll be using. And of course, we'll get to ask questions and have a good time. So I've been speaking so much, and I want to get to see the emails that we've shared. I see that somebody is asking for how we can have access to these softwares. I'm going to talk about that. I see a couple of emails. I just want to be sure that these persons who have dropped emails have downloaded, like I said, Trello, and they've also downloaded Slack, right? If you just want to be a little bit more into this, you might just want to open your Office 365 so that we can do a couple of things here and there. Okay, just to get us started, I would like us to quickly look at Trello for project management. This is a very insightful tool, and just give me a second. Give me a second. I'd like us to. Can you see my screen, please? I just want to be sure you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm trying to assess. So, okay. So if you have an opportunity to, on your device, open Trello, I just want to give us maybe a 10 or 15 minutes walk around project management on Trello. You can, of course, get Trello on your App Store, on your Play Store. You can open the web version of it. It's nothing complicated. Go to Trello.com and just create a profile, as you'll be creating a profile for any other thing. You'll be required to put in your email. You'll be required to do some basic registration processes, right? So on the chat box, if you are into Trello, you can just indicate so that we can be on the same page. But the most important thing I just want to take us through is the fact that on Trello, you can have boards, right? Boards in the sense that you are able to pick up a particular task and break them into subtasks. Let's say you are into consulting and you want to create, you just want to create a board, right? We have some templates. If you are in there, right, you would see these options. Go to Trello.com, try and open up a profile. You would see boards, you see templates, you see a couple of things here, but I'm interested in boards, right? So you would see a lot of templates here that you can choose from. You might want to choose any of these templates here, but let's say we want to create a new board. We don't want to use a template, so we want to create a new board. I would be a bit fast for time's sake, but I want us to be on the same page. So I want to create a new board. Let me call this board real estate. I just want to call this, or let's just call this recruitment. Let's just call this recruitment or anything. If you want to break it down into processes, fine. If you are in consulting, you want to call it the name of your client, right? We have a project you want to walk around. For visibility, you see something for visibility. You might want to make it open to the public. You might want to keep it within your workspace. But of course, if I should create this board, I would see here that I can add a list. Now, a list will mean that I want to say, for instance, this is my to-do list. This is my to-do list. So I add this. Then I say this is pending. Or let me say in progress. In progress. Then I can add another list here. All you just need is your board and then your list. You can add another list here and then you call it on hold. Because there are sometimes you are working within projects and you just discover that you cannot proceed and you have to keep some things on hold. And then you add another list. Let's call it completed. Let's call it completed. Okay. So we have this as completed here. Now, if I go into my to-do list here, don't forget that we are talking about recruitment. Under a particular list, you can add cards. Cards is like a step-by-step process. So we are saying that I'm recruiting for finance department. That's the name of, for finance department. That's the name of the particular card and I add that particular list rather. So when I open that list, please don't forget that the first thing is to create a card and then you put a list. Now, inside recruitment, I can do a lot of things there. I can say, instead of recruiting for finance department, I want to say this is recruiting. I want to say this is recruiting for, let's say, maintenance. Or let me use recruiting for projects. Let's just use it for projects. Fine. So if I come into recruiting for finance department here, under this place, I can see members. So from here, I can load different emails here. So I'm going to use Olusoji. I'm going to use Olusoji, which is, I want to hope that Olusoji has Trello working. I think this is Olusoji, S-O-S-A-N, Olu at gmail.com, right? And okay. Okay, I'm having a little glitch, but I'll just give us an overview. I'll come back to members, right? The most important thing to just take note here is that from here, you can have description. You can say that, okay, I have sent out job ads. I'm trying to run so that we beat time. I have sent out job ads. And then I want to add, say, an attachment, right? You can upload files from your computer from here, right? So let's say you did a job ad, you can upload a job ad to this place. And then you want to put dates here. If I click on dates, I'll see something that looks like a date of reminder, like a due date. So I can say remind us before 2 days. So you can play around dates here. You also want to check for labels. So for labels here, I can call this red and I can say highly important. I can call this highly important so that you don't miss this, and I create this label. So you can do a lot of things. We are not, for the sake of time, we are not able to go through all the things that we can possibly do in that sense, but we can create a label, we can set a location, we can do a lot of things. So after doing that, in fact, okay, so we have done that. We can say recruiting for finance department. Let's say this is this on our to-do list, and then we have added members, right? We have added members. We're able to switch this task. Notice that this is a to-do list. We're able to switch this to pending or in progress so that all members of the team can see that recruiting for finance department is in progress. You know, sometimes when you are doing recruitment, you can get a management call that says, put these things on hold. I'm sure we can resonate with this, where you are doing something and then your general manager suddenly says, no, we are not recruiting again. We are not doing this, or let's just hold on. Some of us have applied to jobs before where it looks like you were almost at the final stage, or they were going to employ you and you just did not hear from the company again for about 2 months. And when you try to call them, they said, that process is on hold. So sometimes with these tools, you can say, okay, this thing is not supposed to be in progress again. Let's put it on hold. So everybody sees that this recruiting for project or for finance department is now on hold. Let's do some other thing. And then if we have done all that we should do, people are interacting. Don't forget that under this place, you can see activity. So you can actually tag people. You know, when you are within a group on WhatsApp, you can call at Victor, right? And then you can call all the members of this card so that they can have an overview of what is happening. I'm sure we understand how you use at when you are chatting or maybe on LinkedIn or wherever. So you can point their attention to what exactly is happening, activities within this task. And let's say we eventually finish the recruiting process, we can then move this to completed. So if this is the task for one person to do, you can gradually show how that from being an item on the to-do list, you get to pending, you get to on hold if there's any need for it to be on hold, or you get to it being completed. This is just for one. We just did this for recruitment. You can do the same for another, right? You let's say you are a consultant and then you have a firm called oil and gas or Bingpe, let's say for oil and gas, right? And you are supposed to deliver a product. Let's say you are supposed to deliver a product to a logistic firm, and you started the process here, right? Permit, I did an attachment here. It wasn't supposed to be my picture. It can be the logo of your company. It can be whatsoever. Don't forget that there's a place for attachment here. So you can attach whatever you want to attach. But you can see that for this oil and gas company, I'm able to show and do a lot of things inside this task that everybody is able to have an input in. Notice that I just created to do in progress, on hold, completed. You can have as many categories as you want to have, right? When you go over this, you can see how to play around calendars. There are a lot of workspaces that you can create, right? You can create as much boards as you want. If you don't like creating from the scratch, you can work with templates. There are a lot of templates that you can work with. Let's say one-on-one meeting agenda, or there's one called project management. There's a template already. So if you click on that template, you are able to have something new entirely. Can you see this is a template for projects? So staying on this will help you understand what are the resources we need, what are the questions we need for the next meeting, what is the to-do list, what is pending. You might want to add as much cards as you want. So that's Trello for you for project management. For time's sake, obviously, you know we cannot try to finish how to use Trello just by speaking about it in about 10-15 minutes. But you have to understand that for project, it is an awesome tool to use, right? Especially when you have bit projects for everybody to see. So it doesn't matter whether you are working from home, it doesn't matter whether you are working in the office, you are able to see the step by step, and then you are able to make your contribution to whatever it is, right? Again, we can also see, let's try and play around Slack, right? Slack is the same thing. You want to also register for Slack, you can do slack.com and then you do the registration process. You can have so many workspaces within Slack. It will keep telling you to create a workspace. For this class, I just want to create another workspace, and maybe I should call the workspace. I hope network does not give any glitch. I want to call this workspace. I want to call it, I just want to call it a certain name. It's loading. I just hope we don't have any glitch whatsoever. I'm still waiting on it to load. Okay. So let's say we are into a particular workspace, right? I'm going to be calling this workspace. Let's call it fashion. Let's just call it project. I'm trying to use the name of the company. We can just say Golden Gate, right? Golden Gate Limited. You can use it for projects, you can use it for companies, whatever it is, and then you create Golden Gate Limited, right? And you want to put in your name, you want to upload your picture. I'm trying to see how. Okay, I want to try to use my Gmail if you allow me, but you can use your work mail. You may not allow me. Okay, let me try to use a particular mail. Okay. Okay. I might want to upload my picture if I want to, but I will just leave my name, and then I can add as many emails as possible. Again, I want to try to see if I can add any email from here. Give me a second. I'm trying to get any email I can lay my hand on. Okay, I see Tosin. So Tosin, you might want to get ready. Tosin Ada, ADA, MO Lekun 93 at gmail.com, right? At gmail.com. Just to make this a little bit more interesting, I want to also see, I see Onome, Omo Toyosi at gmail.com. I'll just use these two for time.com, and then I can send an invite, right? I can send an invite to invite these guys here. So you should get a prompt in your emails. You might want to check your email just to show us. So what's your team working on? Again, since this is a company, I can say, okay, we are working now on let's say reconciliation, right? We are working on bank reconciliation. We are working, and then I create this. Notice that here it creates this as a channel, right? Channel means projects, or more like group chats in that sense. You can see here that you can have a free version, and then you can start with the pro and all that. But this is exactly not. Let's just choose a free option. So if these two persons can help us, accept the invite, we should be able to do a couple of things just in case they are able to. So we have seen bank reconciliation. We can add another channel, and if we add another channel here, we can create a new channel, and then we can name this, say, performance, or we can just name this channel. We can just name this channel HR, right? We can name this channel HR, and then we go ahead to create it. So we can do the same thing and create another channel, right? If we add another channel, we can call this channel, we can call it, we can call it another name. Let's say supply chain, right? We want to call this supply chain. So if you can use WhatsApp big time, you should be able to know how these channels work from time to time. So you might want to add some other members or stuff like that. And then if I go into HR, I'm able to say, yo guys, blah, 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 hello today, what's going on? Make sure you do all this. And here, I'm able to add you see the place for add co-workers. I can add everybody on the HR team here, right? And then we do a lot of things. Then I can use the add function like we will use in any group chat. We can use the add function. I can call on Tosin, right? And I can say, Tosin, check for so and so thing. The beautiful thing about this is that when you employ new staff, or when people join your team, even after 1 year, all your chats, everything you have ever done on Slack will still be there. So just the same way you will send an email, you will send an attachment. If you click on this plus icon, you are able to attach whatever. You can attach a report, you can upload files from your computer, you can do a whole lot of things that everybody can see, right? And then you can call their attention to different things. So while at Trello, we're breaking things down and we're breaking them, Slack favors communication some more, and you can do that via channels, right? So I can talk to any of these guys. I think if I click on Tosin now, Tosin's profile, I can say, hello Tosin, remember to schedule a meeting a meeting for 4 p.m. So I'll be sending a direct message to her, right? So if I send this now, Tosin should be able to have received that. If she has Slack fully functional, she should, even if you don't have this functional, you should have got this via email. So you might want to confirm on the chat box if you did get an email. So you are able to send direct messages. If you have the pro version of this, you can have team meetings. We are not able to do a lot of team things here because this is a free version, but you see things for video conferencing, team calls, and things that help you to actively do projects here. So whether for your workplace or you are doing pet projects with your friends, Slack is useful, Trello is useful. See this as me giving you an introduction or insights into a lot of things that you can do. You can add as many members as you want. See this as insights. If you go on YouTube, how do I do this? How do I do this on Trello, on Slack, or Asana? Once you know how to use one of these softwares, you are able to use anyone. They are all interrelated, right? So again, Office 365 is so beautiful. Office 365 is, you can do plenty magic, starting from your Microsoft Word. I know we still have some time. I just want to see some things. Okay, so if you look at your Office 365, it's more like an interplay between your Microsoft Word, your Excel, your PowerPoint, all the dramas that you think you can do and flex personally. But now we are talking about working within a team, right? So it's not a thing of I'm working on a file in my house or in my home office, but my supervisor cannot see what I'm doing. So either on OneDrive, I'm speaking as though you are trying to integrate this for your project, or you are trying to integrate this vis-a-vis whatever ERP you are using within your organization, which is awesome. But it's important to know that even the regular Microsoft Word that you have on your system, you can make a drive, you can share within Teams as much as possible, right? So as much as you can use Excel, you can use PowerPoint. For instance, and you need to be logged on, right? It's free. You can always try the free version of this thing. You need to be logged on. You need to be logged on your Office 365, your email, the normal registration process. If you've not done that, it's free to do so. You don't need to pay any amount of money. But imagine I'm typing something and I say, hello team. This is the proposal. This is the proposal for Metro project or Metro whatever. And then I've gone to do a lot of things, about 20 pages. It's simple here. There's a share icon. If you are logged into your Office 365, there's a share icon here. In fact, if you don't want to share and you just want to save on your drive, you have the option of doing your save as, right? You can do your save as and save your documents on your OneDrive instead of your PC. So if you are saving on your PC, that's for you. If you are saving on your OneDrive, that's for your team or whoever you are working with, if you guys are using OneDrive. But you might just be working on that document and you decide to share, right? And you share this thing to whatever platform you are working with. You again, you want to share this with your guys, and then you save it whatever name, hello team, and then you have it saved there in that sense. So my point is, when you do this, you are invariably saving these things to your OneDrive, and you can literally invite people. You can send emails to people directly. Again, if I take Simple Dummy 97, Simple Dummy 97. I thought I saw a Simple Dummy 97 at gmail.com. I know we like to say these things are quite basic. These things are quite basic, but a couple of times it's important for us to use them even for ourselves and within our friends and within teams so that we have an understanding of how this works, right? So if you use your Google Drive very well, you know you can give people permission to document. Do you want them to be viewers? Do you want them to edit your documents? And then you can send whatever message you want to send. Take a look at this. Even if the person is not within your organization, and then you share this document with that person, right? I'm sure that this person, Simple Damilola Makanjuola, I'm sure you would get a prompt of this document. So when you open, I just granted you the access to edit. You can edit this document and I will see it here, right? Just by working on my MS Word. Same thing for Excel, same thing for PowerPoint. We can do as much as we want. Again, for time, we would have to run off. So you can share with whoever you want to share. And if you are working on your OneDrive, particularly, if you are working on your OneDrive, you can see whatever files you have saved, they are shown here. You have your documents, you have pictures, you have your photos, you have your shared items, you have as much things that you want to put for others to have access to on your shared device. If you don't want people to see, then save on your computer in that sense. So there's just a whole lot that you can do here. You can create extra files. You can, if you want to buy some more storage, you can buy some more storage. You can upload things, right? You can upload pictures, you can upload documents, and do a whole lot of things on your OneDrive. If I want to be repeating myself, I will take us again through Dropbox. Dropbox is also another thing that looks like OneDrive, where you can share documents and play around documents, right? If you play around Dropbox, it's the same functionality. Just have a hands-on experience on any one of them, and you'll be able to use anyone seamlessly. So you might want to use Dropbox for this. You might want to use, this is Dropbox, for instance. This is the interface. Can you see? You have your files. It's very similar to OneDrive. You can invite members. So play around this. I'll go back to our slides so that we can play around any one of them to see that they can be very useful to working together as a team. There is a functionality I'm trying to look for. I hope I'm able to see it. Okay, you see these folders here. There's a folder here for recruitment. This is Dropbox. I can do the same thing if I'm using my OneDrive, right? I'm clicking on my folders here, and there's something here for recruitment, which I've created before. I can say, oh, I want to delete this. I can do a whole lot of things. And I want to delete files here and there. So that's that about this. If I even go to my email, for instance, if I go to my email, I go to my Google Drive, the same processes. So we can share files as much as possible. So we've looked at Slack, we've looked at Trello, we had a little touch on Dropbox. Just a second. I'm having a little glitch. Just a second. So we can see that these tools are interwoven, right? They are interwoven. As much as we want to play around them, we can keep doing that. Okay. Now, it's also important for us to know that while you are doing this file sharing, especially for Microsoft Word or especially for documents, Excel and all that, you want to keep your autosave constantly on. If your autosave or whatever software you are using, if your autosave is not on, then whatever you are doing, you are most likely doing it for yourself in that sense. So you want to make sure that this is on from time to time. Don't forget that using Slack, you can do as much workspaces as possible. We talked about OneDrive. We talked about, just a second. Okay, so we talked about Outlook. I'm going to come to talk about Outlook shortly. We still talked about Office 365, right? The fact that you can play around any of these Microsoft products. Another very important one is SharePoint. SharePoint is also very similar to all these drives we have mentioned. right? With your SharePoint, you can upload files. Don't forget that once you can use one of them, you can use any one of them. With your SharePoint, you can upload files, you can work together, you can fix meetings and all that. How will I forget Microsoft Teams, right? Microsoft Teams is one super important tool within our workspaces. I know that we do a lot of things with Microsoft Teams, but in some organizations, I don't know, sometimes we still want to do WhatsApp call and all that when we can use Teams. Everything I've explained for each of these software, you know that you register again for free. You can use the pro version if you want to do that. But when you are doing your Microsoft team, you can have a community. Look at this team icon here. You can have a community. I call this production. So if I go into production, I can invite people. I can create an event. I can use my calendar to literally schedule a meeting here, right? For time's sake, I'm just trying to see how I touch these things. Please do well to explore these tools. In 2024, when you add all your soft skills together with your hard skills, together with being able to use these tools, some of us, we do side gigs. We apply for virtual assistant roles on Upwork, on Indeed, and we can show that, oh, I can use Dropbox, I can use Slack, I can use Trello, I can use Asana, I can use Outlook, I can use Teams, I can use all these things. It makes me want to or accord you some respect to the fact that you don't just know the theoretical part or the core competent part of your job by just doing your day-to-day, but you are trying to embrace as much technology as possible. So, like I said, I created a production. You can add another channel here where the only thing you want to discuss is sales. Yeah, so when I create sales here, I do a lot of things here, and then anything I create here is just for sales. I can create another channel here for internal memo, right, where I can send stuff for internal memo. How about if we want to have meetings? I click on this chat icon and I can create meetings. There's a place here for new chat. There's a place here for create a meeting. I wouldn't want to click on this because we are not having meetings per se. I've created some meetings in the past, but you want to create meetings here and which you can send the link. If I open this, for instance, I am able to join the meeting. I'm able to share files, share folders, do a lot of other things here, right? Or I want to create a meeting now, and then I'm able to get a link to share, and I share to people. Or I want to schedule a meeting. I can use my calendar, right? You can sync your calendar with your Google Calendar so that whatever you are doing, you get timely reminders. It's more beautiful on your, I think that's going to be Outlook, right? We are concluding this. I feel like an introduction to this software would allow us to do a lot of things quite deeper as we would want to, but we want to, I seem to have a little glitch here, but I'm trying to resolve that, right? I'm trying to open Outlook, right? Let's try to see how we can do something on Outlook if we're able to. Okay. I just wanted to show us how we can integrate our calendars, right? So I might just want to try Outlook. So if we try to log into Outlook, don't forget that all these things are Office 365 tools. So if you go into Office 365, we cannot exhaust the things you'd be able to use using Office 365. So know your Office 365 very well. Know your SharePoint very well, all that you can do there. And then add some of these tools. This is just a limitation to some of them. You are able to online see as much as possible, but take note of the fact that if you can use one, you can use any one of them. Show me any collaboration tool that I've not seen before. All I just need is 5 minutes or 10 minutes to be able to understand how the interface works, because I've used about 3 or 4 of them before now. So please have this at the back of your mind, right? So if we want to sign into Outlook here, I hope my internet allows me to do this as much as possible. But my point is, when you get into Outlook, all right, fantastic, right? When you get into Outlook here, you are able to work around emails. You can use your Microsoft Word, Excel. These things are integrated, right? You can do all you want to do. But where I'm going to particularly is, of course, you see people, you see groups, you can create groups, you can add people, you can have interaction with people, but most importantly, calendar. Calendar is the most important tool here for me, where here you can, under this place, you can schedule. I think I scheduled performance management for something here. Yeah. And then you can go to whatever date and schedule whatever you want to schedule there. You add a title of what is happening there, and then you add a description, and you are able to share this to everybody so that they are copied. They are copied in that sense. So you can do a lot of things. I remember here, you can fix birthdays. You can fix birthdays of people within your team. You can do a lot of things by working around calendars. For me, calendar is a very beautiful tool that you can get to use on Outlook. You can, aside email and the other things that we do on Outlook. So if I want to say I'm leaving you with something, sleep on Office 365, sleep on all of these tools, and keep using them. You don't need to pay $5 billion before you access them. Use the paid version. Try to seek demo versions with these persons. I will create, I should be able to have 1 or 2 contacts for, I think, some HR softwares. I think Seamless HR and Bamboo HR that I'm also willing to share. You can have interactions with them and tell them that, okay, I want to use this tool, give me a demo version. If you go on the official websites of any of these tools, you can secure a demo version with any of them, and they can take you through, more like a class. In fact, they'll follow up on you. They'll send you emails. They'll remind you of classes. They'll give you assignments. They'll tell you to give them a feedback. And anybody in 2024 should be able to use any of these things easily. So that's about that for a practical session. I'm very mindful of time, and I would like to go back to our slides. Just to recap, we have mentioned the fact that even though you have cat and dogs, we should work together. We have talked about what communication platforms, what project management software you should be friendly with. We have talked about file sharing devices, virtual meetings. Should I talk about Zoom again? Of course, we're having this meeting on Zoom. Your Zoom interface should be something that you don't have issues navigating, same as Google Meet, right? How to record, how to do all these things, and how to schedule meetings. You'll be very, very thankful, especially when you are trying to get a side gig, or you're trying to do some external projects. You'll be very, very grateful to these tools, especially when you are able to master them, right? We've talked about Slack, we've looked at project management, we've talked about file sharing, meeting tools here and there, best practices, and then we've looked at some of these challenges. We've talked about cost implications, challenges, and how we can overcome these challenges, especially as HR persons. Let's champion these things. Let's champion trainings as much as possible, right? Even though people are not very receptive, we can champion this. We've, of course, done a little bit of an overview. And by so doing, I can say that if we combine these things together, we can have remarkable outcomes. You can fish out that member of your team that is sleeping, right? You should be able to drive any form of success within your team. So thank you very much for joining me on this presentation once again. I trust that it's been insightful, but most importantly, you want to go back and refresh on these things and have practical hands-on experience with these tools. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Adeosun, my boss. We will take questions and answers. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much, my brother, Victor Agu. That was very interesting and engaging. Ladies and gentlemen, in the chat box, please show how much value you have picked from tonight's session. No, sometimes when we come up with some topics, some few people will say, do you think people really need it? It's like different folks have different needs. And if you can identify any HR need, directly or indirectly, we will try to see how we can meet it. I tremendously enjoyed myself tonight. You know, we had a conversation offline and you were thinking it was midweek, will people be able to, if I'm not mistaken, perhaps the people tonight were even more than the people on the session you did on the weekend. So it's not the time of the week, it's about the value and relative to people's needs and the timeliness. Again, because of time, if you have any compelling questions or comments, we'll quickly like to take maybe 1 or 2 or 3 at the most so that we can call it a night so that Victor Agu can go back to rest and AI will continue the rest of his work for him as he gets back to his family. I can see in the chat box here, people saying thank you, people expressing their gratitude and their appreciation. Okay, I do not see any question and I do not see any hands up. So what I'll just do in our characteristics manner, I'll unmute everybody so that we can say thank you via voice. You know, sometimes when you hear people's voice, not AI, it makes you feel loved and appreciated. Please, let's say thank you to Victor as we wrap up tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Victor.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Victor.
sir.
We
Thank
appreciate
you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Victor.
sir.
We
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Mr. Victor. It
Mr.
was very,
Victor.
very
Thank
lovely and
you.
very
Absolutely.
insightful
Thank you.
session. Thank you very much.
Thank
You have
you,
a great
Mr.
day.
Victor.
Thank you, sir.
Victor.
iPhone says he has a question. iPhone, want to unmute quickly and ask your question? All right, maybe he has changed his mind. All right, Victor, we'll talk offline. Good night. Thank you.